The space station known as Vigilant Gate floated in orbit around a dying red star. Every ship that entered had to pass through its massive security hall, a place filled with lights, scanners, and the sound of alien voices echoing through steel corridors. Thousands of travelers came and went every day, merchants, soldiers, diplomats. But no one ever forgot the first time they met the security division of Sector 12. They were known for one thing: strict rules and zero humor. That morning the scanners beeped louder than usual. Something was wrong. The air grew tense as the system displayed red warning lights across the main screen. The alien guards at the checkpoint stopped what they were doing and turned toward the entrance gate. A new arrival had just stepped in. A single human traveler. His name was Jack Keller, a mechanic from Earth, though most who met him said he looked more like an explorer or a soldier than a repairman. He wore a faded brown jacket full of pockets, dusty boots, and a backpack that seemed too heavy for one person to carry. His short brown hair was messy, and a scar ran down the side of his face like a small lightning bolt. But what stood out most was his calm expression. He wasn't nervous like most travelers. He looked around as if he had seen far worse places. At first, the guards ignored him, but then the scanners began screaming. Red lines flashed across the walls. A robotic voice echoed through the hall. Alert. Weapon density exceeds regulation limit. Subject flagged human. Every alien in line froze. A group of small insectoid merchants whispered to each other. A scaled warrior hissed under its breath. The lead security officer, a tall reptilian creature named Commander Vrex, turned his head sharply toward Jack. His yellow eyes glowed beneath his black helmet. Human, Vrex growled through his translator. Drop all weapons, now. Jack blinked, looked up at the giant creature and smiled. Sure, he said calmly. Give me a second, Vrex frowned. His tail twitched. No seconds. Drop them now. Jack raised his hand slowly, showing empty palms. Relax, big guy. You asked for all weapons. That might take a moment. The other guards lifted their plasma rifles, ready to fire. The crowd started stepping back. Everyone had heard rumors about humans. Dangerous, unpredictable, too clever for their own good. But none of them had ever seen one under pressure. Jack took a deep breath, then crouched down. He reached into his right pocket and pulled out a small silver knife. He placed it on the table in front of him. Then another one. Then a third. The guards exchanged glances. Jack continued. From his jacket, he pulled out a multi-tool with a laser edge, a coiled wire with hooks, and a pocket torch. He placed them gently in a line. See? Tools of the trade, he said cheerfully. The scanner beeped louder. Red lines still flashed. Still reading weapons, said the robotic voice. Vrex narrowed his eyes. Continue, he ordered. Jack shrugged. All right then. He reached into his left boot and pulled out a small blade hidden in the sole. He tossed it on the pile. Then from his sleeve he slid out a metal pen. He clicked it once and the tip glowed bright blue. Plasma cutter, he said, smiling. Very handy for repairs. And other stuff. The aliens stared. The crowd began whispering again. One muttered, How many weapons can a human carry? Jack heard them and chuckled. You'd be surprised. He reached into his jacket again and pulled out something that looked like a slingshot, except the bands shimmered with energy. Then came a small cylindrical object, a handful of sharp metal pieces, and what looked suspiciously like a spoon with its edge sharpened. The guard beside Vrex muttered, This is madness. Jack just grinned. You told me to drop everything, remember? Vrex leaned forward, his voice deep and cold. How many weapons do you carry? Jack thought for a second. 47, he said. Give or take one. The hall went silent. The crowd stared in disbelief. Even the AI paused for a moment as if it couldn't process that answer. Vrex slammed his clawed hand against the table. Drop them all, now. Jack sighed, shaking his head slowly. You really want me to do that? This might take a while. Do it, Vrex commanded. Jack smiled again, this time wider. All right then. He crouched lower and started pulling out more items. A small energy pack, a folded grappling hook, a shock baton, a compact flare gun, and a small cube marked Emergency Survival Device. He placed them neatly beside the others. The pile was growing into a small mountain of strange human tools and weapons. The alien spectators moved closer, whispering and recording the scene with their holocams. Each new item made the guards jump. The scanner still flashed red. Jack stood up, brushed off his hands and said with a calm voice, "Almost done." Rex's claws tapped against the metal table. "Almost," he repeated. "Yeah," Jack said, reaching into his jacket again. "I've still got my emergency gear, my backup gear, and my just-in-case gear." The crowd laughed nervously. Jack began humming a small tune as he continued unloading item after item. By the time he was finished, the table was buried. The scanner still blinked faintly, struggling to process the mountain of metal, wires, and glowing energy sources. Jack crossed his arms and smiled at the commander. "So, you want me to keep going, or is this enough?" Rex didn't answer. He just stared at the human, realizing for the first time that this small, smiling creature might be far more dangerous than anyone on the station. And Jack just kept smiling. He loved first impressions. The air inside the hall felt heavy, thick like smoke after a battle. Every alien eye was locked on the human who stood beside the towering pile of weapons and tools that already covered half the inspection table. The crowd had gone quiet now. Even the humming of the station's reactors seemed distant. It was the kind of silence that comes before something truly strange happens. Jack Keller glanced around, still wearing that calm, confident smile. "All right, Commander," he said, his voice steady. "You said everything, right? Guess we're only getting started." Commander Vrex didn't move. His yellow reptilian eyes narrowed, watching every motion. Behind him, 4 armed guards tightened their grip on their plasma rifles. The security scanner still flashed red over Jack's name. It wasn't satisfied. The reading still said weapon density critical. "Proceed," Vrex ordered finally. Jack gave a casual salute. "You're the boss." He crouched down again and unzipped another small pocket on his jacket sleeve. Inside was a tiny silver cylinder no larger than a finger. He placed it carefully on the table. The alien guards leaned in. "What is that?" one of them asked. Jack smiled. "Flashbang, but only for emergencies." The guard's eyes widened. "Why would anyone carry such a thing?" Jack shrugged. "Why wouldn't you?" He opened another pocket, this time on the inside of his jacket, and pulled out what looked like a folded piece of glass. When he flicked it, a holographic map appeared above his palm, showing a star chart filled with human colonies. He turned it off and placed it down. "Navigation aid," he said. "Sometimes maps work better than memory." The aliens whispered again and the crowd grew closer. The word human passed between them like a spark through dry leaves, but Jack wasn't done. He moved to his right boot, loosened the straps, and pulled out a small tube. He twisted the top and it expanded into a short metal rod. He tapped it on the table and it released a faint electrical crackle. "Telescopic shock baton," he explained. "Non-lethal, mostly." Vrex tilted his head. "How many weapons are you hiding?" Jack thought for a moment and then said with a grin, "I don't hide them. I just pack light." The guards didn't find it funny. The scanner beeped again, louder than before. The AI voice echoed through the hall. "Warning. Residual energy signature detected. Additional weapons remain concealed." Vrex crossed his arms. "You heard it." "Keep going," Jack nodded. "Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you." He reached into his pants pocket and pulled out a tiny bag of marbles, except these marbles shimmered with faint blue light. "Plasma beads," he said. "Good for short-range distractions. Also fun at parties." The alien guard stepped back instantly. "Distractions?" One repeated, clearly nervous. Jack winked. "Just part of the kit." Then came a rope made from braided synthetic fiber, a small mirror etched with runes, and what looked like a miniature wrench but glowed with faint energy. "Portable field wrench," Jack explained. "Can fix airlocks, weapons, or broken bones if you're desperate." By now, the pile on the table looked like a museum of chaos. Blades, gadgets, strange tools, and small explosives lined up neatly in rows. The crowd was no longer whispering. They were stunned. Rex stepped closer, towering over Jack. "This is not normal," he hissed. "No other species carries so much danger inside their clothing." Jack looked up, calm as ever. "Maybe that's why we're still alive," he said quietly. Rex didn't reply. He didn't have to. The truth in the human's voice carried across the room. Still, the scanner beeped again. The reading refused to clear. Jack sighed and patted the pocket on his left thigh. "Guess I missed one." He reached inside and pulled out a small metal disc. "Thermal cutter," he said, "for doors, and sometimes there's problems." The crowd gasped when he placed it beside the others. One of the guards whispered, "He's a walking armory." Jack laughed softly. "Nah, just well prepared." Vrex leaned in close. "What are you preparing for, human?" Jack met his gaze without blinking. "Everything." That single word echoed through the chamber like a challenge. Even the AI paused for half a second, almost as if it needed time to process the human's answer. Then the scanner flashed again. Residual readings detected. Jack sighed, looking almost embarrassed. "Really? Still?" He reached up to his collar and pulled off a tiny pin. It looked harmless, just a metal badge. He set it down gently. "Tracker beacon," he said. "Old habit." The red light on the scanner began to fade, but not completely. The AI voice announced, "Weapon density reduced, 42 items detected, continue disarmament." Jack blinked. 42? That's weird. I thought it was 47. Vrex's eyes widened. 47? Jack nodded. Give or take. The entire hall erupted in disbelief. The crowd began to shout questions, some in languages no one understood. Cameras flashed. Holographic reporters started recording live feeds. The story of the armed human at Vigilant Gate was already spreading, but Jack didn't seem to care. He opened another pocket on his sleeve, removed a tiny folded blade, and placed it down. Then he pulled out a lighter shaped like a grenade, a bracelet with small tools hidden inside, and a coin that glowed faintly when it hit the table. The scanner flickered green for the first time, then back to red. Vrex pointed a claw. "You still have something." Jack looked down at himself and shrugged. "Yeah," he said, patting his jacket. "A few things maybe, but come on, I can't walk around unprepared. What if something happens?" The guards didn't answer. They simply watched in silent awe. Jack leaned against the table, folding his arms, his eyes bright with humor. "Tell you what, Commander, I'll make you a deal. Let me finish my pockets, and then maybe I'll tell you why humans carry more gear than some armies." Vrex hesitated but nodded slowly. "Very well, continue." Jack smiled again, that same easy, dangerous smile that made everyone nervous. He opened the next pocket, and somewhere deep in the scanner system, the AI began a new calculation, trying and failing, to understand how one small human could possibly be carrying so much chaos inside his clothes. The next item he pulled out would make the entire hall stop breathing, and Jack knew it. The room was so quiet that even the humming scanners seemed to hold their breath. The table before Jack Keller was overflowing with strange human weapons and tools, blades, gadgets, coils, cubes, and things the aliens couldn't even name. The red alert light still pulsed over his head, flashing like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Every alien in the crowd was waiting to see what this human would do next. Jack tilted his head, glancing at the scanner screen as if it were a friend giving him bad news. "Still red?" he said softly. "Guess I missed a few." Commander Vrex's voice came low and cold. "You are playing games, human. The system still detects weapons. Continue disarming immediately." Jack turned toward him with that same calm smile, the one that somehow made everyone more nervous. "Sure, Commander," he said. "But you might want to clear some space first," Vrex hissed. "Proceed." Jack exhaled and knelt again, patting down his own jacket like someone searching for spare change. From a small inside pocket, he pulled out something tiny and black. It looked harmless, but when it hit the table, the AI immediately blared. "Energy cell detected. Class 3 explosive potential." The guards tensed, weapons raised. Jack held up his hands. "Relax, it's not active. Yet." "Deactivate it," Vrex demanded. Jack chuckled. "Already is. I like my arms where they are." The crowd began murmuring again, voices blending into one low rumble. Hollow cameras zoomed in. Every alien news channel within the station was streaming the spectacle live now. Jack reached into another pocket and pulled out a handful of thin metal rods. Each was engraved with human letters and symbols. "Trip sensors," he said simply. "Motion detectors, sound alarms, the usual stuff." He laid them gently beside the growing pile. "Why carry all this?" one of the smaller guards asked, his voice shaking. Jack looked at him and smiled faintly. "Because trouble doesn't send an invitation," he said. "Where I come from, we prepare before trouble finds us." That answer made the crowd even quieter. Rex's eyes narrowed further. "This is not normal. This level of paranoia keeps us alive," Jack interrupted calmly. The commander's jaw tightened, but he didn't reply. He just gestured for the human to continue. Jack nodded and reached into his pants pocket again. This time he pulled out a small metallic sphere that pulsed with soft blue light. "EMP bead," he said, tossing it lightly between his hands before placing it down. "Good for shutting off annoying machines, no offense." He looked up at the scanner above him with a grin. The AI paused as if uncertain whether to be offended. The scanner beeped again. Weapon density decreasing, 38 items remaining. Jack raised an eyebrow. 38? Huh, we're making progress. The crowd laughed nervously. From his other boot, he pulled out a thin wire coiled like a bracelet. "Cutting wire," he said, stretching it for a moment before placing it down. Then came 2 smoke capsules, a compact survival ration pack, and a folded sheet of metal that, when tapped, shifted into a small shield shape. "Field deflector," he explained. "Experimental. Works sometimes." The guards flinched when the shield shimmered for a second. Jack smiled proudly. "Told you it works." Rex's claws tapped against the table. His patience was fading. "Enough jokes. Continue." Jack raised a hand in mock surrender. All right. He reached into the last visible pocket on his jacket, and the hall leaned forward in collective anticipation. What came out looked like a simple piece of string. He set it down with care. "That," Rex said slowly, "is a string." Jack nodded. "Yep." "Explain." Jack grinned. "Used it once to tie a creature 3 times my size. Never underestimate the simple stuff." A wave of disbelief spread across the hall. One alien even burst out laughing before being shushed by a companion. The scanner still glowed red. "Residual readings detected." Jack frowned. "Still? This thing's picky." He looked down at his sleeve and began rolling it up. Hidden just beneath his wrist was a sleek metallic bracelet. He tapped it once, and a tiny blade extended from the side, glinting in the station lights. The guards gasped. "Retractable wrist blade," Jack said casually. "Got it as a gift. Never leave home without it." He folded it away, removed it, and placed it carefully on the table. For a moment, the scanner's light dimmed. The AI announced, "Weapon density reduced, 32 items remaining." Jack sighed. "You know, at this rate, I'm going to have to charge you for unpacking." Rex didn't laugh. He didn't blink either. "You enjoy this, don't you?" Jack looked up at him, his smile fading into something quieter, more serious. "No," he said softly. "But I've learned something about this galaxy. You either laugh or you don't last long." That line hung in the air like smoke. Even the guards didn't move for a moment. Then the scanner flashed again. Remaining readings confirmed. Subject still armed. Jack rubbed his forehead. "You've got to be kidding me." Rex leaned forward, his tone sharp. "You are hiding something. Reveal it." Jack's eyes twinkled with amusement. "Hiding? Commander, if I wanted to hide something, you wouldn't find it even after tearing the floor apart." Rex snarled. "Enough!" Jack slowly raised both hands. All right, don't fry your scales, let's see." He turned slightly, lifted the back of his jacket, and pulled out a flat, rectangular object, metallic, faintly glowing. The crowd gasped again. "What is that?" Rex demanded. Jack's smile returned, but this one was different, quieter, more dangerous. "That," he said, "is insurance." He placed it on the table. The AI scanned it for a long moment, then hesitated. Unidentified human technology, power source unknown, risk level undetermined. Rex took a step back. "Deactivate it." Jack laughed softly. "You can't. It only listens to me." The red light kept flashing, slower now but still burning. Jack stood tall, brushing the dust from his jacket. Almost done, Commander, only a few pockets left. Hope your nerves can handle it. Vrex didn't reply. His claws dug into the metal table as his instincts screamed that this small, smiling human might be the most dangerous creature he'd ever met. And through it all, Jack Keller just kept that same suspicious smile, the kind that said he knew exactly how much chaos was still left in his pockets. The command hall felt like a storm trapped in a bottle. Every alien had gone silent again, their eyes locked on the human standing beside a mountain of tools, gadgets, blades, and strange glowing cubes. The table was bending slightly under the weight. Steam from the station vents drifted through the air like mist, making the lights shimmer across the metal floor. The tension was thick enough to cut with one of Jack Keller's many knives. Commander Vrex's voice came low, his scales twitching with anger. "You said you were almost done," he growled. Jack tilted his head. "Yeah, almost," he said softly. "But you asked for everything." "Continue," Vrex ordered. Jack gave a small nod and crouched again. The crowd leaned forward. The camera zoomed in. The entire hall waited as the human reached into the last few pockets of his jacket. The first thing he pulled out looked like a chunk of black stone. He placed it on the table and the scanner immediately flickered orange. "Object unknown. Heat source detected," the AI said. Jack smiled. "Meteor fragment. Picked it up on a mining moon. Still warm after all these years." Vrex frowned. "You carry rocks?" "Lucky rock," Jack said simply. "Never got shot while it was with me." The aliens didn't know if he was joking. Next came a small cube covered in scratches. Jack pressed one corner and it clicked open, projecting a glowing blue hologram of a spinning human skull wrapped in circuits. The crowd gasped. "Medical scan device," Jack said quickly. "Helps fix fractures or check for brain damage. Mostly mine." The guard still didn't relax. He reached deeper, pulling out two small metal rings. When he tapped them together, they emitted a faint hum. "Vibration triggers," he explained. "Can distract sensors or make a nice sound if you're bored." "Those are weapons," Vrex hissed. Jack shrugged. "Everything's a weapon if you're creative enough." That answer didn't help the commander's nerves. From another pocket came a long, coiled line that looked like hair, but shimmered like metal. "Smart fiber," Jack said. "Can become rope, cable, or whip depending on the charge." The guard stepped back again. Then came something even stranger, a small, clear bottle with a glowing red liquid inside. "Adrenaline booster," Jack said casually. "Human grade. Don't drink it unless you've got 2 hearts." A small alien gasped. "2 hearts?" Jack smirked. "Sometimes it feels that way." He set the bottle down beside the pile and continued. The next item was a folded sheet of black material that unfolded into a small drone with 6 tiny wings. It beeped once, scanned the air, and shut down. "Scout drone," Jack said. "For mapping caves, ruins, or enemy bases. Never leave home without it." The hall was full of flashing lights from every alien recording device now. Across the station, thousands of viewers were watching this human unpack what looked like the inventory of a battlefield. Still, the scanner stayed red. Jack scratched his chin. "Tough crowd," he muttered. "All right, what else we got?" From his sleeve came 2 tiny darts, a wristband full of small tools, and a small folded square of metal that looked unimportant until it opened and revealed a microcomputer screen. Vrex's voice shook slightly. "What is that?" "Universal translator," Jack replied. "Sometimes station ones don't work right. Ever been insulted in 5 languages at once? Hurts your feelings." He set it down, the humor in his tone mixing strangely with the fear in the air. The AI chimed again. "Weapon density decreasing." "Remaining 27, Jack sighed. "Man, I thought I was down to 10. Vrex pointed a claw. "You humans are dangerous beyond logic." Jack grinned faintly. "That's what keeps us interesting." He reached into the last inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out something small and green, a tiny plant in a metal capsule. The crowd blinked in confusion. Vrex frowned. "What is this now?" Jack smiled. "Home," he said quietly. "A seed from Earth. I take one wherever I go. It's not a weapon. It's a reminder." For a moment, even the commander didn't speak. The red light flickered softly like it too was thinking. Then suddenly the scanner beeped again, louder this time. "High-density energy source detected," the AI announced. Jack blinked. "Oh, that." He reached into his boot and pulled out a small metallic cube. It was smooth, glowing faintly blue, humming like a quiet storm. "Explain," Vrex demanded. Jack placed it down gently. "Portable fusion cell," he said. "Powers my ship when I run out of fuel. Also works as a space heater." The guards aimed their rifles instantly. "That's a bomb," one shouted. Jack raised both hands. No, it's stable. Completely safe. Well, mostly safe." The commander looked ready to explode. "Deactivate it," Vrex roared. Jack grinned nervously. "Can't. It's voice-locked to my DNA." Vrex hissed something in his native tongue that made the air vibrate. Jack scratched the back of his head and said quietly, "Hey, you told me to drop everything. You didn't say I could sort by danger level." Somewhere in the back of the hall, a small alien burst out laughing. The tension cracked for a moment, and even a few guards hid their smiles. Jack shrugged. "See? Laughter's good for morale." The scanner flickered again and finally said, "Weapon density minimal. Residual signature detected. Personal defense items remaining." Vrex took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "You still have something left," he said through clenched teeth. Jack looked down at his hands and sighed. "Yeah," he said. "A few things." He tapped his jacket, feeling the hidden weight of items no one yet knew existed. "But trust me, Commander, you don't want to see what's next." "Show it," Vrex growled. Jack gave a half-smile, eyes gleaming under the lights. "All right," he said. "But don't say I didn't warn you." He reached into his final pocket. The crowd held its breath. Whatever came out next, it wasn't just another gadget. It was something older, stranger. Something that would make the AI stop speaking entirely. Jack's fingers brushed the edge of it, and for the first time since entering the hall, his smile faded just a little. Then he whispered almost to himself, "Let's hope you never have to find out what this one does." The red scanner light turned deep crimson. The AI stuttered, and the whole hall froze. The command hall of Vigilant Gate looked more like a museum than a checkpoint now. Tables overflowed with blades, wires, vials, cubes, and blinking lights, each one taken from the pockets of one very calm human named Jack Keller. The alien crowd had grown so large that the upper balconies were full. Every species wanted to witness the human who carried 47 hidden weapons. The air shimmered from heat and nervous energy. Commander Vrex stood stiff, his long tail flicking against the floor. "Continue," he ordered again, voice heavy with disbelief. "Until the scanner turns green." Jack rubbed the back of his neck and gave a small nod. "All right, Commander, but this next part might get weird." He crouched, patting another pocket sewn inside his jacket. From it he pulled a handful of tiny discs. They glowed soft white, pulsing like breathing lights. "Sensor mines," he said. "Stick to anything. Great for setting warnings in dark tunnels." The guards all took a cautious step back. Jack chuckled. "Don't worry, inert, mostly." Next came a small tube no longer than his thumb. When he twisted the top, it projected a hologram of a woman's face, smiling warmly. "Personal message recorder," he explained. "From home." For a second, the crowd forgot their fear. Even Vrex seemed to soften before forcing his stare back to steel. "Sentimental items are allowed," Vrex said coldly, "but the scanner still shows weapons." "Keep going," Jack nodded. He pulled out a folded square of black metal. With a flick of his wrist, it unfolded into a shimmering mask that covered his lower face. "Oxygen filter," he said. "Some planets don't like my lungs." He took it off again, folded it, and added it neatly to the pile. The AI voice overhead hummed. "Weapon density decreasing. 31 items remain." Jack whistled low. 31? Still a long walk, huh? The next item came from his boot, an injector pen filled with green fluid. "Medical stim. Wakes you up if you die. For a minute, anyway." A collective gasp rolled through the hall. The aliens whispered among themselves, horrified and fascinated at once. Jack smiled faintly. "Relax, it's not contagious." From another pocket, he removed something even stranger, a glass sphere filled with swirling mist. "Portable atmosphere capsule," he said. "Creates air when you run out." The guards blinked. "You carry air?" one asked. Jack shrugged. "Only a fool forgets to breathe." The crowd laughed nervously. Then he reached deeper and pulled out a compact block of dull silver. When he pressed a button, it unfolded into a square plate that hummed softly. "Energy barrier," Jack said. "Deflects plasma. Mostly one use." "Learned that the hard way." Vrex leaned forward, astonished. You built that yourself? Modified it, Jack corrected. Humans love upgrades. He tapped the device gently and it powered down with a faint sigh. The AI chimed again. Weapon density 27. Jack squinted at the screen. Progress. He reached into a hidden pouch on his belt and pulled out a small pouch of gray dust. Thermite powder, he said. Emergency cutting tool. Melts through steel. The guards recoiled instantly. One shouted, "That's an explosive!" Jack held up both hands. Only if you're careless. I'm not careless. He set it down delicately as though placing a baby in a cradle. The crowd was frozen between fear and awe. Vrex spoke quietly now, almost to himself. Every item is both weapon and tool. Every object has two faces. Jack looked up at him and nodded slowly. That's humanity, Commander. We make things to survive. What we do with them depends on the day. His tone was soft but heavy, the kind of calm that came from too many close calls. The AI broke the silence again. Residual energy detected. Continue. Jack sighed, checking another pocket. Out came a small device shaped like a coin. He flicked it once, and a faint hummingbird-shaped drone unfolded from it, wings glowing blue. It hovered above the pile for a second before landing back on his hand. Scout drone, he said proudly. Sees around corners. The crowd gasped again. That is military tech. Vrex barked. Jack winked. Retired military tech. He placed the little drone gently on the table. The AI's voice lowered to a hum. Weapon density reduced, 21. Jack rolled his shoulders. Almost there. From the inner lining of his jacket, he drew out a simple book. Real paper? The aliens murmured in confusion. Few had seen paper before. Field notes, he said quietly. Reminders, mistakes, lessons. Vrex tilted his head. You write? Jack smiled a little. Only when I survive something worth remembering. He placed the book beside the rest. For a brief heartbeat, the red scanner light flickered orange, almost peaceful. Then it blinked back to crimson. Jack sighed again. Of course. Reaching into his final visible pocket, he pulled out a small metallic sphere with a glowing blue ring. The AI instantly screamed. High-energy core detected. Potentially unstable. The guards aimed their weapons again. Jack held the sphere gently in both hands. Relax, he said softly. It's not a bomb. It's a power source. Kept it from an old shipwreck. Still hums like it's alive. Deactivate it. Vrex barked. Jack looked him dead in the eye. Can't. You turn it off, it dies forever. It's been with me for years. The commander hesitated. For the first time, he felt something close to respect. Jack set the glowing core down beside the rest and stepped back. The AI paused for a long moment before speaking again. Weapon density minimal. Remaining readings, unknown origin. Jack gave a crooked smile. Unknown, huh? Yeah, that tracks. Vrex's claws clicked on the floor. What else is hidden, human? Jack brushed his jacket once more, tapping his chest. Just one thing, he said softly. And trust me, Commander, it's not something you can scan. Vrex frowned. Explain. Jack met his gaze. It's not metal or energy or code. It's called instinct. You won't find it on your machines. The hall fell silent again. Even the AI had no words. Jack gave a small, tired smile and said, That's the real weapon, Commander. The one we all carry. He looked at the pile one last time, then stepped back, hands open. Now, he said quietly, your turn to trust me. The red glow from the scanner painted the walls of the command hall like blood on metal. For a long moment, no one spoke. The air itself seemed to wait. Then slowly, the sound of mechanical gears hummed as the AI processed everything it had seen. The mountain of objects on the table flickered under the scanner's beam, every shadow stretching across the floor like a memory of chaos. Jack Keller stood motionless in the middle of it all, arms folded loosely, his expression calm as always. To him, this was just another inspection. But to the aliens gathered in the hall, it was a revelation. They had never seen a single being disarmed like this. They had never met a creature who smiled while surrounded by 47 tools of survival. Commander Vrex broke the silence first. His claws clicked on the table as he leaned forward. Scan complete? He asked the AI. The disembodied voice replied slowly as if uncertain. Scan, incomplete. Object identification, partial. Human physiology exhibits. Unusual readings, Vrex frowned. Unusual? High stress indicators detected, the AI said, but no fear response. That made several guards glance at each other nervously. Fear was universal except apparently to this human. Jack tilted his head, smirking faintly. Guess your machines don't like surprises. Silence, Vrex snapped. He turned back to the AI. Rescan him. The beam flickered, washing over Jack from head to toe. Lines of red light traced his jacket, his boots, his face. When it stopped, the scanner's display glowed faint green for the first time. Scan complete, it announced. All weapons identified and contained. A wave of relief moved through the guards. Some lowered their rifles, though none dared to relax completely. Jack raised an eyebrow. There, see? I told you we were fine, but Vrex wasn't done. His voice was still sharp. Why? Jack blinked. Why what? Why carry all this? Vrex hissed, motioning toward the table. No sane being needs this much firepower. You travel between stars, not battlefields. Jack stared at the pile for a moment, then looked up at the commander. His smile faded. Where I'm from, he said softly. The difference doesn't matter. The room grew silent again. Even the AI didn't interrupt. Vrex narrowed his eyes. You expect us to believe that your people live like this? Jack nodded slowly. Not all of us, but some of us have learned to be ready for anything. Space doesn't forgive mistakes. He stepped closer to the table, picking up a small metal coin. This one saved my life once, he said, turning it between his fingers. Bounced a laser shot that should have gone through my head. He set it back down gently. Luck, maybe. Or preparation. Doesn't matter which, as long as you keep breathing. Vrex's tail twitched. You are reckless. Jack smiled faintly again. No, Commander. We're human. There's a difference. That answer hung heavy in the air. The alien guards whispered among themselves, some with fear, others with awe. They had fought pirates, smugglers, and mercenaries, but never had they met a creature who treated danger like a casual conversation. Then, suddenly, the AI spoke again. Additional anomaly detected. The guards tensed instantly. Vrex's eyes snapped to Jack. Explain. Jack sighed. It's probably just my heart rate. This place isn't exactly relaxing, but the scanner kept flashing brighter this time. Energy source within the human, the AI said. Organic, yet unstable. Jack blinked, then rubbed the back of his neck. Oh, that, Vrex roared. What that? Jack smiled awkwardly. Old implant. Experimental tech. Keeps me alive. Kind of a mix between machine and biology. The crowd erupted with alarmed whispers. A cyborg, someone shouted. Vrex slammed his claw against the table. Deactivate it at once. Jack's tone remained calm. Can't you turn it off? I stopped breathing. The AI confirmed it. Life support implant detected. Removal or deactivation will result in human death. Vrex froze. His authority suddenly meant nothing. He looked at the AI, then at Jack. Why would you do such a thing to yourself? Jack shrugged. Because it worked. He took a slow breath and looked around the hall. You think humans carry weapons because we love fighting? No, we carry them because we never know what's waiting for us out there. You can't predict space, Commander. You can only prepare for it. The crowd went quiet again. The guards lowered their rifles completely now, unsure if they were looking at a warrior or a survivor. Jack picked up a small piece of metal from the pile and spun it between his fingers. You know, he said softly. Every time I leave home, I pack everything that might save a life. Mine or someone else's. Sometimes that means a weapon. Sometimes it's a tool. Sometimes... He looked up at Vrex. It's both. The commander's jaw clenched, but his voice softened slightly. And the smile, he asked. Even now you smile, Jack chuckled. Habit, I guess. It helps people think I'm harmless. Vrex studied him for a long moment before finally speaking. You are cleared for entry, human. The guards hesitated, shocked. Commander? One began, but Vrex raised a claw. He followed protocol, Vrex said firmly. He disarmed. He explained he is... No threat, Jack gave a small bow. Appreciate it. As he stepped forward to collect his identification pass, the crowd parted in silence. Every alien eye followed him, the once loud hall now filled with quiet respect and unease. At the exit gate, Vrex called after him. Human. Jack turned. The commander's tone was steady but curious. You said 47 pockets. I counted 46. Jack's grin returned, just a hint of mischief in his eyes. Yeah, he said softly, tapping his chest. The last one's invisible. For emergencies only. Before Vrex could respond, Jack walked out through the scanner archway. The red light turned green as he passed, and the system announced, "Access granted." The doors closed behind him with a quiet hiss. And in that silence, every alien in the room realized something they'd never forget. Humans didn't survive because they were stronger. They survived because they were impossible to predict.